It is a massive leak of what was once confidential information. CBC News is among more than 100 media organizations in 76 countries which have collaborated in the release of what's being called the Panama Papers, a treasure trove of documents held by a law firm in the Central American country. Now the question is, what does it reveal about how the world's rich and powerful were sheltering hundreds of billions of dollars from taxes? And for some analysis on this, we're joined by David Duff, a tax law professor at the Allard School of Law here at the University of British Columbia. What should people make of all these documents and this emerging story?
Well, I guess we'll see more in time as the documents are disclosed and analyzed. But one of the key things, I think, is that we need this kind of information in order to assess whether people are paying their fair share of taxes. Not everybody can engage in transactions with Panamanian companies. And so we want to make sure that our taxes are being collected fairly.
Already, people are pointing out quite properly that there is tax avoidance, which is generally legal. You do what you can to pay as little taxes as you must. And then tax evasion, which is illegal. Which one of those is happening here?
I expect both are happening here. I haven't had a chance to look at any of the documents yet, but there are laws that require Canadians to disclose foreign assets if they have not, and they own interests in some of these offshore companies in Panama, then that could be tax evasion. Tax avoidance, you're absolutely right, is legal, although not always sanctioned. Our norms about tax avoidance have changed over time. We have a general anti-avoidance rule that prevents abusive tax avoidance. We have a variety of specific anti-avoidance rules that are targeted at offshore companies that require Canadian resident shareholders to include their share of certain kinds of income of those companies. And again, if they haven't been reporting that income, that now moves into the sphere of evasion rather than avoidance.
Even in the cases that are legal, the tax avoidance scenario, are there good public policy reasons that the Canadians should support, let's say, the closing down of some of these loopholes?
Well, we have actually relatively robust rules for, as I said, offshore corporations, offshore trusts. The biggest problem is really enforcement of these rules. And there are two things that are required for enforcement of those rules: resources by the public authorities to be able to counter the massive amount of resources that come from the private sector to arrange these structures, and also increasingly information exchange with the countries that it's actually has been in their interest to facilitate these kinds of arrangements. And there's been more movement on that lately, but most of the information exchange thus far, at least with Panama, we have an agreement with them for information exchange, is only when it's requested by the Canadian authorities. They have to know what they're looking for. Increasingly, the standard among developed countries is for so-called automatic or spontaneous exchange, where the information is provided so that you can know what you can find out what you're looking for. And that's what we really need. The leaks make that possible in obviously a kind of uncoordinated way.
Well, as we read more through these documents to get more details, hopefully you and I can speak more about this in the future.
I would love to.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.